Hi, everybody. Welcome to a impromptu episode of Talking Timepieces. I managed to talk my friend Rob, our collector friend. I'm just making sure that my phone is muted. And he is the person who I've been getting my watches from, these inexpensive pieces that I showed you, that Vostok 24-hour and the other pieces that I'm going to be showing you, including this Invicta. But then he also has a high end to his collector side. He's the one who gave me that Breitling with the UTC module, and he's wearing it right now. Wristwatch check, I'm wearing my Tudor Black Bay Heritage. And but Rob has not only this Breitling, he's got a BO2, right?
Well, it's the Breitling B2 is the model. The movement.
Oh, you have it with you?
I do, yeah. And I'm going to give that to you now, so you can do a future episode on that.
Okay.
And I married that up with a UTC module as well. Should I go into the story on that, or save it for the episode?
Go into the story. Well, this is the episode.
So I bought the B2 on Chrono 24 from a Belgian dealer after as you were a part of, a failed sale from a seller in New York. So I just bought the same model twice, and I always knew that I wanted to have it with the UTC module. This, for me, when we talk about grail pieces, this was the watch that I have coveted for over 20 years. Back when I used to be in an aviation world, and this to me was at that point was my ultimate aviator's watch, and for me also being in a pilot/air traffic control environment, I just loved the idea of a UTC module in such a position that you could always be a pilot and talk to controllers, and always giving out UTC time without having to remove your hand from the control surfaces of whatever you're flying to look at the main face. But anywho, so this is it, and because I'm really good at making short stories long, is that this came with the metal pilot bracelet, but I had to do another Chrono 24 buy to very specifically get the original pilot bracelet, but married with the UTC. And I bought it, and that was also somewhat of a Chrono 24 sale that didn't go the way that I expected, because I was promised by the seller rather, from help me remember, it was some Eastern European country, that it was a black face, when in fact it turned out to be a blue face, which I didn't want a blue face because I already have a blue face UTC for my Navi, and I had to go through my authorized dealer to have them send it back to Breitling to do the work to make it out to a blackface for a blackface. Anywho, that's for you, so you can do an episode on that.
For me?
So, yes, sir.
I'm assuming to borrow. No, I'm assuming to borrow. Because that's the other nice thing about having the microphone, is that when you're talking and it's pointed at you, you know I'm not going to interrupt you. Right? So you can be comfortable in your answers.
It's an indicator
of the back and forth.
Shut up. Now it's your time to talk.
There you go. But I think it is important to really talk about where you came from, because watch collection is a journey, and the inspiration of what started your journey is an important aspect.
That watch that I handed you just now, I was never a watch collector. Actually, meeting you actually had a lot to do with that, and you gave me the springboard to jump off onto this. But the B2 was, again, that was my grail watch. Now that I'm into it, I'm thinking something else now.
Well, grail doesn't mean, ultimate. It just means the one that you really, 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 really want.
And that's what this one always was.
But you can keep going.
And actually, I wound up buying this Navi before I bought that.
Bingo.
And I have always had an affection for the Breitling brand, just with the aviation passion. I named my dog Breitling, actually. So I don't know if we've had that conversation, but my dog's name's Breitling.
That's funny.
But yeah, obviously my sights are on other things. Actually, my next next luxury piece, I should say, as you mentioned earlier, that I am buying. I'm really grabbing my hands on everything.
Well, hold it. Tell us the piece you're looking for, and then let's go into the other.
Well, really, I want the last iteration of the Omega Speedmaster Moonwatch.
The newest, or the one right before that?
It just got discontinued, so I want
Without the coaxial escapement.
I want the original as it was.
1861 movement, if I'm not mistaken.
Fair enough. Yeah, you know that probably better than I do because I haven't memorized all the movement numbers yet. But
Neither have I.
But I'd preferably like to find it because I don't plan on going to space and I don't have to worry about shards of sapphire floating around in zero gravity. I would prefer to
Sapphire sandwich.
Sapphire versus the Hesselite.
That's the other thing. When you see me move the microphone, you know I'm going to interrupt.
And a side story, he offered his Omega Speedmaster Moonwatch to me. Hesselite, which is true original. Configuration. That was at least 6 months ago, or
No, it was almost a year ago. Because then I offered it to Gordon, the owner of this establishment, who bought it.
Yeah, that's true. But the problem was I wasn't really a watch collector then, and I didn't know what I was giving up on. I just knew I was more sticker shocked at that point because I didn't
Get the value.
I knew what I want. I knew what I was willing to pay for this being my grail, but anything other than this, I'm like. And now that I'm becoming a watch collector. And why did I not buy that from you? Especially a year ago when the prices were much more down before the discontinuance, and our pal Gordon wound up snagging it. So now I got to find one from somebody else. But the silver lining in that is that, as I mentioned earlier, is that I'd really prefer to have it with sapphire. So that gives me an opportunity to buy the one that I would really want versus the one that was available at the moment.
Which is actually a watch collection lesson, if you think about it. That you have an impulse to buy something directly, and something causes you to hesitate, and that hesitation gives you an opportunity to rethink that.
Yeah.
And that happens in a lot of things, not just watches.
Yeah, sure.
Now, let's look at this other one. This is the other end of the spectrum now. We've gone from Breitling to Pagani design.
So as you mentioned, I'm buying a lot of inexpensive watches. The word cheap just sounds cheap, and
Inexpensive works for Invicta, for example. I wouldn't call them cheap.
And as you always said, at least Invicta hasn't a history. They have a
They have a reputation.
They have their DNA is in the Swiss thing, and I've always liked the Invictas for the robustness. You know, what's their slogan? Attention to detail. And I'd say that, you know, without being clones and knockoffs, they do a good job in and of their own of their attention to detail.
They make good homages.
Yeah, and very much homage. I mean, they have their own unique things, but
Very unique, some of them.
share of what they sell are homages. I got to tell you though, what of these Pagani designs, I'd say everything they do is an homage, though. At least what I've seen. But
Pagani pretty much is an homage house.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much known in the industry as an homage. They're known as making one of the best Daytonas out there. Speaking of which,
yeah, and
Daytona style watches.
Daytona homage.
I'm actually going to edit this part out. Let's start that part again.
Okay.
This Pagani design, they're known as the best Daytona homage out there. You
Homage, without being a clone.
A clone, right. They're not a clone.
Yeah,
Well, the thing is,
homage, and now, actually, that I'm curious, though. You would know this. Is lug to lug the same and bezel the same on the Paganis as it is a Daytona?
I should have brought my calipers. I don't know off the top of my head. Well, you know what? When we do the show, I always measure, so you'll know then.
Yeah, I was curious because, or is the Daytona always been a smaller watch?
I think it's
About 40 mil.
It's about I think it was a 41, I think, or a 40, or but whatever. But the Daytona at 40, I believe. But the Daytona, or it could even be, it could be a 41. But what I'm saying is, it might be the same lug width and case size and all of that other, but. You might even be able to exchange bracelets. I don't know if you'd want to put a Pagani bracelet on a Daytona.
Because I bought 2 of these Paganis so far. I haven't even worn them yet. They still have the seal and wrapper on them. But I did notice when I'm looking at the watches, I'm like, oh, they're a little on the more petite side. And not just the face, but also the bracelet as well. And being that I've never actually owned or even seen anyone really wearing a genuine Daytona. I don't have a comparison because you see a lot of pictures, but until you actually
see it on the wrist,
and have that frame of reference, I was just curious if the obviously we can Google anything, but I've never taken the time to Google the lug and the width of a
the biggest difference
Panda versus these Pagani homages.
The biggest difference is going to be the thickness, because
that's the other dimension.
Because the Daytona is 12.4 millimeters thick, if I'm not mistaken, and the Pagani's got to be easy 15.
Well, I mean,
like I said, I'll measure it.
Calipers with us,
but I will measure it at the episode.
That might be its own episode to discuss it.
Let's just talk a little bit about it, because I know we can't really show it here in the camera well.
No, this is not the Panda, if you will. This is the black on black. Case, but
actually, you know what I'll do is I'll hold it up right now, and I'll just do that, and we'll just say, okay, this is close enough. We'll have a whole episode, but this is the watch we're talking about right now. Okay.
And what I like about this, and has started me on another trend, is I'm pretty much a mass picking up things lately, but I'm really in this kick of where I like these Mecha-quartz movements, where you still have all the automatic bits, but regulated by a quartz movement. So the whole idea of the accuracy being not measured in days, but more of a months. Type of thing, and I know that for your purists, right? You've introduced something that's
my big thing is a watch with hands.
Mechanical. So
Mecha-quartz is mechanical.
Well, I meant putting quartz in. Obviously, we have yet to see. All the major Swiss manufacturers they either made quartz or they made automatic, and of course the revival after the quartz crisis is pretty much all automatic again. But we've yet to see any of the major Swiss players do Mecha-quartzes.
Well, the proper term would be then electromechanical movements. But
colloquial being Mecha-quartz, right?
Well, there are micro brands doing Mecha-quartz movements. Some good micro brands doing Mecha-quartz movements. So it's not so much. And like for example, you're starting to see a lot of Chinese movements in micro brands like that micro rotor technology.
This is actually Pagani Design is a Chinese brand, but they're using the Seiko VK63 movement in this. Mm-hmm. And
there are some European micro brands that use Chinese movements. Interestingly enough, now
Chinese movements. I see. Versus going to
like Seagull movements in their watches, or
Chinese movements. Okay.
Hangzhou movements, because they make the micro rotor that goes into the. I forget the name of the company off the tip of my tongue, but they have that new beautiful salmon with the Breguet numerals, and I think it's a Baltic, if I'm not mistaken, is the company I'm thinking about. But they have they're currently got a nice piece out with it is Baltic. They came out with a beautiful piece and they're a French micro brand, if I'm not mistaken.
Chinese movements.
Because the Chinese are coming out with some very good mechanical movements. Because this is a micro rotor, for example, that they put into this Baltic.
Now, the people that are buying those, are they looking just to get like your Amazon shoppers that don't really know or care?
That watch costs $700.
Okay.
Where the corresponding Chinese watch would cost $150.
I'm just wondering, would you buy a watch that had a Chinese movement? Or
I've owned one.
I'm thinking we all understand at least the Japanese, the Seiko Citizen side of the house, but I don't know.
You'd be surprised. Chinese have actually come a long, long way very quick. Because don't forget, it's just micro machining. They don't know how to do micro machining.
I mean, obviously, we were thinking that the Swiss are here, and then obviously the Japanese would.
I wouldn't put the Chinese on anywhere close to the level.
Given my druthers, I would think I would not want to take a Chinese move. That's just me where I'm at now and my mentality, and I don't know how the rest of the audience feels, but I didn't realize that there were reputable micro brands.
They're becoming a serious player.
Chinese movements.
China is becoming a serious player in watches.
Like everything, though, right? But it's their time on the market, right?
They're new.
Are we comfortable with that?
There's a debate going on in the industry right now about this, but the main aspect of that is, for example, the best Chinese movements, I would say, are as good as mainstream Japanese movements.
I guess a good correlation or analogy, I would say, is like back in the 1970s, what percentage of American car buyers were buying Toyotas? Took them time to build that reputation.
But they were good cars then.
Today, more Americans are buying Toyotas than they are American brands. So I guess okay. So
Well, when those Toyotas were new on the
we'll see
market,
what happens in 30 years with the Chinese movements in the watch market.
Well,
it might just become like the oh no, oh it's got a Chinese movement, blah blah blah. Good stuff. Who knows?
well, the fact that the Chinese are putting other people's movements in their watches now for market purposes, not because they don't have a movement to put in there, shows you that they're more focusing on markets. And in the fact of the case, like I said, this micro rotor that's out there now that's being picked up by people, tourbillons. Now, a Chinese micro rotor is not going to be finished to nearly the level of a European micro rotor movement or tourbillon movement. Or I mean, there are companies who buy them and then finish them further, but the thing is, the Chinese movements are functional, robust, and they do what they're promised. The micro rotor has a micro rotor. The tourbillon has a tourbillon.
How do they stack up on the metrics as far as their plus minus day gain loss per second?
Horrible. 20 seconds a day.
Okay, there you go.
I said they're not as accurate.
No, but okay, so they're just getting their foot in the ground, and they'll probably better over the years. But and then also, what is it? What's the other thing when you measure them? They're measuring the.
Well, they measure basically its timekeeping ability. I mean, the exactness of how they do it depends on the company and how they do the mechanism. But the goal is the accuracy itself. Basic Swiss accuracy (COSC) is +6 -4 a day.
I thought it was -2 +4. Okay.
-4 +6.
Okay.
It's a 10-second window. And Omega Metas are +5. And Rolex does +2. -2. +2 -2, right.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, so tell us a little bit of your philosophy behind getting this Pagani.
Well, it's very much an homage piece.
What is a good-looking homage?
And we'll get into the whole super clone thing another time. But
Yes, we will.
yeah, that's going to be another a bar chat of talking timepieces, maybe talking tipsy timepieces as we drink. But again, we'll get into that. That's going to be my whole a lot of
And you can talk about your
theory
acrimony
of owning knockoffs, clones, super clones, whatever we want to call them.
homages.
That's straight not an homage. That's a ripoff.
No, this is a.
Oh no, we're talking about super clones. We'll get into.
We're back on the homage track.
Yeah, but we're on this. So yeah. Again, I wanted Mecha-quartz, V6, this Seiko or SII V63 movement, and it's very homagey to a Daytona. So I wanted that, and I wound up buying two because I couldn't find them in the original configuration I wanted, which was really an homage to the Daytona Rainbow, which is the black face with the rainbow of jewels on the bezel. I could only find the Pagani design with the rainbow bezel, but it was on a skeleton face.
Right.
And then I could find, I was able to buy the black on black. And the idea is that as we work through the bezel remover to take the rainbow bezel to put on the black face, and I thought also, the black bezel I think would look better on the skeleton face. So I'm between the two watches and moving the parts around, gonna have for a very, very inexpensive price.
But that bezel looks fragile. We may not.
Two nice watches. I'm sorry, or nice looking watches, I should say.
Not nice ones, just nice looking ones.
Well, I don't know what the durability of these are.
Well, Seiko movements are robust. I mean, they're good movements.
But so that was my precipice for why I bought the two of them identical, but with different schemas.
But that bezel looks fragile as hell.
Well, actually, is it?
There's no metal backing.
Can you? Oh, you can tell just by looking, right? Yeah. That there's no metal. Well,
it's solid black all the way around.
So not ceramic. Or
It's either really high end. If it's ceramic,
they're doing PVD.
It would be metal if it was PVD.
Around, isn't it? Okay.
It could be coated, but we can look at that. I'll look at that later.
Yeah.
Or we can play with it, with blades later, and so we won't cut ourselves on camera.
Well, at the end of the day, if we wind up hosing it and breaking it, lesson learned. It's not the end. It's not like
Well, you wouldn't do this to a Breitling.
Tutor, I'd go to a watchmaker, but the price of learning these things would be to try it, and if you break it, oh well. But you're not out these price points.
Well, that's another reason to play around with it. So let's wrap the episode up because we don't want to have the people watch too much of this and they'll say, "Holy crap, I'm not going to watch that long of a video." But yeah, so was there anything you wanted to leave thoughts about your watch collecting philosophies with our audience?
I don't have a philosophy other than I'm just grabbing. I'm just grabbing. I mean, I see so many things I'm interested in, and I just make these very impulse buys.
Well, that's easy at the $150 price point.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And I've just in the last couple of weeks I've bought 3 Vostoks now. The first one you did the 24-ounce, but then I just bought 2.
They're a great way to start.
I bought 2. That's a whole thing about Russian movements and their whole following and whatnot. But I just bought 2 more Komandarskis, identical.
And we'll be looking at all of them.
That are a red face with a red bezel and a yellow face with a yellow bezel.
We'll do a roundup episode too.
Well, and then I've got the reds coming, right? Then I've got I've already had for a long time my red on red Invicta quartz, just a nice beater. But then I bought the 47 mil Invicta automatic that's red on red, and I've got the Komandarski red. So I was thinking you can do a whole episode. Now I've got 2 other ones. I don't even remember the brands at the moment. You could do a whole episode of just on the reds if you wanted. My collection, to answer your question, I have no collection strategy at this point. I'm just grabbing, on the inexpensive side. I mean, a strategy for luxury quality,
the high-end
quality watches. Yeah, right now I'm focused on the Omega Speedmaster.
So strategy at the high end, tactics at the low end.
Oh yeah. It's strategy on the high end. It's
tactics.
It's it's a hot mess on the low end for me right now.
Burning huts and dead villagers everywhere.
Oh yeah. It's almost like I'm going more for quantity over quality on the low end.
Well, it's a phase that I
have to play around and have them in, I'm wearing an orange shirt, I'm going to wear an orange watch, or I'm wearing a yellow shirt, I'm going to wear a yellow watch. That matches. Let's go with that today.
It's a lot of paths people take.
Yeah. So.
But if you're having fun, that's the key, right?
My strategy is no strategy.
But you're having fun, aren't you?
Oh, tons, absolutely.
I think we'll end it on that line.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Bye.